Offbeat Reggae Radio brings you the finest reggae, rocksteady, roots, dub and ska. The next band feels like they could provide all of those things packaged up nicely in just the one album. A California-based band who are inspired by DIY artist subculture. Now the band is called Burnt. I have on Skype Danny, who provides vocals and guitar, Karthik, bass, Jamal, sax, keys and production, KB, hip-hop vocals, and Rob on drums. Hello!
Yo, what up,
hey,
what up?
How's it going?
I'm amazing. I hope you're all well. The band formed in 2003. Can you tell me about the band from that point and catch us up to date? Anything notable to talk about? The idea of Offbeat Intros is that we catch people up on a band that they may never have heard of before, and we play some tunes. So yeah, I throw it over to whomever wants to take control and tell us that little bit more.
Right, so this is Danny. Let's see, if I try to rewind to 2003, what sort of connects us up at that point is I was going to college in San Diego, where I met Jamal and Karthik, and also Rob, our drummer. And then KB and I are from the same area in California. We both grew up in the desert. And at that point, we had basically coalesced around some weird, twisted notion of trying to create music together. And really the hub for that was this desert studio that we built. My friend Chris, his grandparents owned a ranch out in the desert. And basically, I took the money that I was supposed to be using for college, and then I lived in my VW bus. Long story short, we took some money that we had saved and, bought a board and some mics and just started recording music and, playing music together. So between those two poles, the desert studio there and our San Diego college scene, there's an open mic basically that this band sort of, I don't know, how would you guys describe that? Maybe Jamal can describe the open mic.
When we first started actually playing together, people would come to this open mic and of course sign up on the sheet, and it kind of turned into this regular thing where every week we'd kind of show up. We sort of formed a unit where we were all jamming together. I don't know how many weeks and months we were actually playing and jamming together without actually having written any songs, but it was just sort of jam band style. I think all of us had a shared interest in reggae music in general. When I remember back to all the groups that were performing at that open mic, I feel like we were the ones that sort of held down the reggae and ska sort of element to the whole night. I remember the first time Danny showed up and played one of his songs, and it was a really good song. It was on the first album that we recorded. I don't even think that one's released on Apple Music or anything like that. It got a really good just response, and so that we just started jamming every week, and people liked it. I think at a certain point we were kind of realized, okay, this could actually be something. We started recording albums together, just DIY style, all of our own equipment, no record label or anything like that at the time, just kind of doing it on our own and releasing music that we love.
So just looking at the numerous streaming services that are available now, you've already got a rather large back catalogue of stuff already over the past few years from 2003 to now. You've also ended up touring all up the West Coast and over Canada. Tell us about that.
The touring really starts in 2006, our first big West Coast tour. Remember that, KB? We had this wild idea to convert a 1960-something school bus.
Hey, as soon as you said 2006, I was muted, because I got a very active family over here. I was muted, and I said to myself out loud, I was like, oh man, terrible. Good times, but the struggle was realer than ever,
we were excited. We were just pulling out of San Diego where the bus was located there in Ocean Beach. And then I think the bus promptly died, and
yeah.
and never made it out of the parking lot.
No, we were determined, man. We're not quitters. All right, we fix it and we roll out. That was our mentality, man. And we kept having to fix it, man. I feel like the longest drive it took before having an issue was maybe 2 hours.
Yeah, but we did eventually wisen up and ditch the bus, a regular thing for us. So we've traveled up to British Columbia since then, not on a bus or anywhere near one, and I've had lots of fun playing the Victoria Ska and Reggae Festival up there, I think 3 or 4 times, and yeah, just tons of different shows in and out along the way, up and down, but we've all played a ton of shows together over the years.
when it comes to what songs to play from the off, you kind of left that with me, quite unfairly, might I add, because you sent over your album, which is 27 songs, and said pick 2. Now, the album is also proper varied by way of kind of genres in a way. So what I did was I thought I'd start with quite a chilled track and then build it up with a second one, and hopefully we'll cover the album to the best of our ability with 2 songs. How do you feel about the first track being Home?
Yeah, that's great. Run it.
Entitled Home, the band is Burnt. We've been chatting about them and their history. I'm told no gigs or tours coming up for obvious reasons, so the promotion section of the interview seems to be solely about the new release. 27 songs on an album, 2 hours, 12 minutes of music is obviously fantastic value for money, and I can honestly say that I loved all of it because I've listened to the lot today. But surely you could have gotten a bit more mileage out of it, no?
Yeah, that's probably accurate. But I think, the story of this album coming together over, the course of the last year with all of us working from home or furloughed or laid off or what have you. Part of it was just the joy of being able to work on music together, even if we couldn't be in the same room together working on it all the time. At least speaking for me personally, was just a positive thing to put my energy into with, the world in shambles and whatnot.
Yeah, I read the blurb on Bandcamp actually, and it was talking about how this album came together a little differently than you would usually do it for, as you say, obvious reasons. How did you find the process being particularly different or more or less enjoyable not being in the same room with the usual people?
Oh, yeah, I think Rob can speak to how joyless this process was. Robbie, you take that one.
I could just say it's really difficult to track drums to a bunch of instruments that are playing out of time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It was frustrating. I couldn't be happier with the results, and it was a real challenge. Thankfully, we've got this great crew here, and everyone was able to step up and just work through a real difficult process when normally we'd all just be sitting in the same room and recording these tracks together live, and maybe doing some overdubs on the top. But yeah, all the foundations kind of came together in some like Frankenstein kind of way.
Yeah, this is Jamal. I think Frankenstein is a good analogy there because, normally when you write music, I don't know, I guess every band has its own process, but I kind of feel like most bands, you get some good ideas together, you're all playing them in a room together, so it's like you can feed off of each other and you can see each other's reactions and you organically put together this thing that sort of fits. And then once you get to a certain place where all these parts are sort of put together, then you kind of have enough to start actually like creating an arrangement. But when you're like not all together in the same room, it gets really, really hard to like get even to that point where you're ready to start arranging things. And I think one of the most challenging things was with Rob, it'd be the drummer being somewhere separately. Usually you think of like the drums and the bass as sort of the foundation for especially reggae music, but almost any genre. You can't really just put together a song by recording just drums and bass first, like by themselves. If you don't have any of the lyrics on there or an idea of how the song is going to be arranged, then how do you even like do that? We had to sort of work backwards. We kind of threw some pieces together, then came up with the arrangement, then sent it to the drummer and the bass player to like lay down their parts after the fact. And I think that was probably especially difficult for them. At the same time, I think it also speaks to just like where technology is at this point in time. 20 years ago, doing what we did would have been like freaking damn near impossible. These days, being able to send high quality tracks, everybody having laptops, all the equipment to like do their own recording in an affordable way, made it possible for us to do this. And this was, I think, all of our first time experience recording an album, just all being in separate locations across California. So it's an interesting experience.
Yeah, very much. You're not the first band to have talked to me about that, actually. In a previous show, I was talking to a band called Rebel Vibe, and they've done a similar thing in 2020 as well, and I found it just as challenging. So we're trying to promote your new album, Reaching for the Sun, all 27 songs of it. If you were to try and explain the album to a newbie, how would you sell it? It's incredibly varied.
Yeah, I would probably advise you to eat some psychedelic mushrooms and turn it up really loud And I think it lends itself well to like a road trip. Personally, I took some trips up the coast to visit Rob. It's a 3-hour drive. Come down with some new mixes of the project and just throw it on in the car. And I found that it's actually really effective that way. If anybody takes road trips anymore, or when they do,
when we're allowed,
when you're allowed to take a road trip, up the coast or, through the mountains, I think this is a perfect album to listen to in that context. For me, an album is more than just a collection of, singles, right? Like if it's a proper album, there's transitions, there's a reason, it's got a flow. It definitely didn't just hit random, right? There's a reason behind it.
Yeah, sure. I thoroughly enjoyed listening through it. Reggae, ska, one sounded incredibly dubby to me, hip-hop kind of rap feel to others, and as such, I was kind of stumped for the next track to choose. I found 4 that I wanted to play, and I only have time for the 1. So what I'm going to do is name the 4. Hopefully you agree with one of them, and you can choose the one that you feel will best sell your current release. We've started off with a very chilled one with Home, and then I had like a short list of Shadows, Ablaze, Twisty, or Bolo the Kelp Rider, because I felt that they covered the other kind of musical avenues that you went down in this album. So which one do you reckon?
Wow, that's a tough choice.
Damn, Karthik, your mic is hot, son.
My vote. My vote would be. My vote would probably be Ablaze.
I agree with Jamal. I mean, that kind of was the first single I feel like we released, correct?
Yeah, and that one to me feels the most representative. Maybe not even of just the album, but just like Burnt as a band, and especially as the specific group of musicians on this particular album. The other songs are great. We definitely there's you named one of the ska tracks, the other hip hop track you mentioned. So KB produced that track. There was a guest MC from another band that I play with here from Sacramento, California. That's the Shadows one. But I think Ablaze is going to be a better representation of Burnt.
The second track that we hear from Burnt is Ablaze. I'll be very honest, I really found that decision very, very difficult. There is such a wide array of different avenues that you can go down in just this one album. If you like your ska, listen to Bolo the Kelp Rider. I really enjoyed that one as well. But yeah, I don't have a bad word to say about it, lads. I really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
No, thanks.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to technology, the fact that we're reaching all the way out there into the UK, and that you're giving us the opportunity to spread and share our music. If you would have told me 20 years ago that people on the other side of the planet might be listening to like some of your recordings, I would have just probably not believed you at all. So again, thank you for picking this up on your radar and spreading the word, and it's an honor.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem at all. 20 years ago, I was just getting into radio myself. So believe me, if you'd taken me back that far, I'd be just as surprised as you that I'm doing a little show from my home studio that is going out to places like Central America, Hawaii, Finland, Israel, Australia, and the UK.
Nice. I'll just say that when the world turns back on, we'd love to come out and tour. So I might be reaching out to you, Andy, for some links on promoters or good places to play, or to see if we can sleep on your floor of your studio, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, no, there's a pull-out bed that the 5 or 6 of you want to try and fit in it. Go nuts.
It's been done before.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. All that is left to do now is for you to educate, share and introduce with either your influence track or music that you feel needs promoting. Therefore, I throw it over to you and say, what did you choose and why?
I didn't consult with my compadres here on what tracks to send you, but I think they've all countered Pero Bravo in one way or another and can probably attest to why that sack of deadbeats is both inspirational and an influence for us. The musicians in that band have a long storied history of being in different bands from Long Beach, California. They're from a generation before ours in terms of musicians, and they just have wisdom, I guess is the word. It's been great to play shows with those guys. It's just they're a great band, and just giving it up to the generation that kind of came before us and blazed the trail for weird music with reggae influences coming from California, you know?
Sweet. Okay, then. What song do you want me to put on?
Yeah, I mean, this is just a staple. Pero Bravo, it's in every single set I've ever seen them play. It's a great jam, and I think, you know, people that haven't been turned on to this music before nicely captures the sort of Long Beach reggae, surf, deadbeat vibe that those guys excel at.
Let's get it on. Lads, thank you very much. Danny, Rob, Karthik, Jamal and KB. It's been slightly chaotic, but fun, I hope, at the same time. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Andy.